Hello, welcome to Pardon the Interruption. My name is Matthew, alongside Alex, Brady, and Channing. And today, we will be discussing, is Drew Brees a top 3 quarterback of all time? Alex, what is your opinion on this?
Absolutely. He is one of the all-time leaders in passing yards. He held one of the greatest Super Bowl runs of all time for the previous Aints and just held back all criticisms for the Saints at that time. He made such an impact for the New Orleans community rather than Joe Montana and all these other French top 3 quarterbacks. He is ultimately one of the quarterbacks with one of the longest longevities in quarterback history. That would perfectly describe how long his career was. It was about 21 seasons in the league or less. And he himself has just an ultimate ride of a career. He had injuries derail his career with a multitude of broken ribs, but that didn't stop him as he pushed the Saints to a consistent playoff team.
Brady, what are you thinking?
I don't think he is, in fact. If you look at the top 3, you see Brady, obviously, as number 1. But, I mean, you have number 2, Peyton Manning. And then for me, I have, Joe Montana, number 3, for how successful he was in the playoffs compared to Drew Brees, who's a really good regular season passer. But when it came to the playoffs, he could not, fully go into the championship and win. He only won 1 title. And then the rest of his career, he was in the playoffs, but then he'd lose. And that's really what defines it. And also, with what his, like you said about his impact for New Orleans, that doesn't really translate to the game and how he how he dominated the game. That really shows his outside. And I'm looking at the NFL and how he did in the NFL.
Interesting. Channing?
Yeah, I completely agree with Brady. I think Montana's 5 Super Bowls speak for themselves, and I think Brees having 21 seasons and only 1 Super Bowl with some great weapons and great players over the years, and also not being able to win these playoff games. Obviously, there was some controversy, but the only reason they won the Super Bowl was because of an onside kick. Surprise.
No. Well, that
not
was
why they won the Super Bowl.
That is completely false. In that Super Bowl alone, it was a 2-possession ball game at the end of it, and that onside kick was in the beginning of the second half. And even with that, his weapons were Marquez Colston. He also had Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas throughout his entire career, excluding that San Diego tenure. And even with that, you could look with impact within communities as a factor, because especially during Hurricane Katrina, he gave life to New Orleans again, especially in the football world. And Joe Montana's Super Bowls aren't really a great metric to begin with, because he had the greatest wide receiver of all time alongside of one of the most underrated running backs of all time. Really good defense. That wasn't really only him that won those Super Bowls. And his playoff runs came to end with a controversial PI, of course, alongside a multitude of miracles by the Vikings twice. And those aren't really his fault to why he only has 1 Super Bowl in 20 years.
I have a question for Channing and Brady. So you're saying that Drew Brees isn't a top 3 quarterback all time because you're saying Super Bowls. Aaron Rodgers also has the same amount of Super Bowls as him, and he's still in the league. So would you say that Drew Brees is worse than Aaron Rodgers all time?
No. I think that Rodgers is I just think he could never really get it done, and he always had all this pressure on him, and he's just not that good anymore. He used to be good, and even when he was good with good teams, he couldn't perform.
Well, I disagree with that. The reason why he had that really bad playoff run in the late 2010s, early 2020s, his defense really succumbed under pressure against teams like the 49ers. And there was a special teams touchdown that won them a game. It's not really to Rodgers' fault. Well, to one game maybe, but Rodgers isn't the main reason for the playoff losses.
I'm going to have to cut y'all off there because we are starting to run out of time. So before we end, I got to make sure everyone knows to go ahead and acknowledge your tribal chief. Thank you for tuning in. This is PTI. I'm Matthew alongside Alex, Brady, and Channing. Thank you for watching.